But first, we're going to talk about Donald Trump and his court cases. It absolutely fascinates me, the American justice system. I mean, we talk about a two-tier system in this country. Blimey, it seems that there definitely is one in the USA. A federal judge has dismissed a major case against Donald Trump, citing a Justice Department policy that bans the prosecution of a sitting president. And what's happened is all the delay tactics to make sure that this didn't happen until after that election. The criminal case against the president-elect alleged that he illegally sought to overturn the 2020 election, which is a very, very serious indictment. He was indicted on 4 felonies in August last year and pleaded not guilty to all of those charges. However, the case was dismissed without prejudice, which means that they can file again after the presidency. But will they? Well, joining me now is Joseph Tully, founding partner of Tully and Vice Attorneys and legal author. Joseph, there's law for some, but not for others in America.
Yes, I think that this last 4 years, while Trump has been out of office, we've seen him be treated in ways and the legal system work in ways that it's never worked before. And it appears very much on the surface to a lot of the fuel behind that was just people being vindictive.
So you think these were bogus in the first place? Although in dismissing this case, they've said, look, the state has said, look, this isn't because the case wasn't good. This is because, you know, we can't take a president, we can't criminally indict a president, so we can't do that.
Yes, so to answer your first question, I didn't see any of the cases that were filed as being completely 100% bogus. I did see that there was something there. I didn't think they were very strong cases, and I've been on record predicting that ultimately I didn't see a successful prosecution. But it's very natural for prosecutors not to want to give up. So here they are making motions in court and essentially giving up, dismissing cases. 2 of the federal cases have now been dismissed against Donald Trump.
Well, the most serious ones as well, weren't they? They were the ones that could have seen him in prison.
Sure, yes. Federal cases are often more serious than state court cases. He does have a state case still pending in New York and a state case still pending in Georgia, but I believe those will go by the wayside as well now.
I mean, he's played a blinder, hasn't he, him and his team, in kicking the can down the road, in grinding everything down to the slowest possible pace.
Well, yes, that is accurate. However, I did see this happening in criminal cases in America. A lot of times the pacing and the timing is up to the defense. And you have every right to challenge the government on every single thing involved in the prosecution. And I do think that his attorneys have done a good job in terms of filing motions, appropriate motions, and challenging the prosecutions in areas where they needed to be challenged.
I mean, much of this is a moot point anyway, isn't it? Because as soon as he got into the White House, in fact, he said he's going to sign some orders from the podium before he gets into the White House, he would have pardoned himself.
Yes, so he could have pardoned himself on the federal cases. On the state case in Georgia, I think there's still, the president can't pardon himself on state charges, but can pardon himself on federal charges. But the New York charge relies on a federal crime, so I think the New York case will go away as well, and the Georgia case is definitely in jeopardy as well for the prosecution. I mean,
I'm just trying to get my head around the fact that as president you can't be prosecuted unless it's incredibly... so mind you, he did once say he could walk down the street and shoot somebody and he'd still be popular. It's weird to me that somebody would have the power to pardon themselves, that they would have the power to commit a crime and not be prosecuted while they're holding office. You would imagine that the opposite of that would be true.
The law is designed to be flexible, and we inherited our legal system from Britain, and Britain inherited it ultimately from Rome. So there's that lineage. The pardoning, I do think that while that is possible, on the other side, if a president were to commit something serious enough, that prosecution could go forward, and that the Constitution does allow measures that could take out an extremely bad actor and stop them. So I don't think there are measures within the Constitution that allow a president to be checked in their power.
Um, a lot of people look at the American legal system. I was reading something earlier on this week about the numbers of wealthy people who avoid any jail time or even avoid a guilty verdict because they can afford these flash lawyers, they can afford to do the things, play the game, push the chess pieces around, if you like, in a way that somebody with a public prosecutor or defence team couldn't do. How divided is the American legal system in that sense?
I think that power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Also, in addition to that, positions of power are attractive to psychopaths. So, I do think that
That's
in the
very
last
true.
few decades, well, it's true.
It is true. Yeah.
In the last few decades, last several decades, maybe since the 1970s, the justice system has become more and more lopsided in favor of government and governmental power. So I do think that having a very good attorney and lots of money where you can pay the attorney to do good work is a good plan. If you are prosecuted, have the misfortune to be prosecuted. But I do think that the system definitely has a lot of corruption in it, and we do need substantial criminal justice reform. But I think that it's really governmental power that needs to be checked more so than I see rich people getting away with whatever they want. I actually see now prosecutors getting away with whatever they want, no matter who the defendant is.
That is a strange thing as well for us to see the level of political interference there is in the justice system in America. I mean, we saw it recently, I think, with the riots that we had, and the Prime Minister suggesting to the justice system that it do certain things, which it then did them. And I wasn't happy with that at all. It should not have anything to do with government, because then they choose who's prosecuted and convicted instead of the law. But it is a strange thing. You've got judges sitting. They're voted for. They're placed, by the president in order to sway the laws one way or the other. Again, that doesn't seem very democratic. It doesn't seem like a good system. There's too much politics involved.
Too much politics involved, and the mindset is different now. I think a political mindset can be like an operating system that you have on your computer. And in my lifetime, I've seen that operating system change to where judges had a judicial demeanor, a judicial presence, and were absolutely committed to the law and to be more fair and blind and blindly apply the law. I've seen that change where a lot of the values have degraded and things are more personal now. There's a famous quote from our second president, John Adams. We need to be a country of men, not of laws, meaning a country governed by the Constitution, not personalities. And I've seen that principle erode within my lifetime, unfortunately.
I mean, in your view, if you are poor and of colour, does that make a difference to your outcome for justice, for actual justice?
I think it certainly can. Again, the best strategy, if you happen to have the misfortune to be caught up by the government's prosecution, is a very, very good lawyer and a lot of money to spend on the lawyer to have them do good work. So just having an expensive lawyer, just spending money won't do it. Just having a good lawyer who doesn't have resources won't do it. That's the best combination. To whatever extent being poor, deprives you of those resources, or a person of color can contribute to you being poor. disproportionately and not having those resources, I think that affects that. But right now, as we saw with President or former President Trump at the time was a billionaire, and he was still getting railroaded in a lot of instances in the law. Again, I didn't see the charges as totally bogus, but I saw them as very weak cases. And the fact that they are being dropped now isn't just because he's president. It's because he's president now and they were weak cases to begin with.
Will those cases, are they likely to return? They were dismissed without prejudice. Will they come back to haunt him at some point?
I don't think so. I think that within the next 4 years, I don't think that anyone on his legal team will allow that to happen. I think that they'll take measures. I mean, it's possible that they could survive. I don't see it happening.
The prosecutor himself is standing down, isn't he, next year, before he gets sacked? I think that was
correct. Yeah. So
before he gets fired by Trump.
Yes, he moved to dismiss one of the cases, and then he also he withdrew an appeal, and then he dropped Trump as a co-defendant on the second federal case. So effectively taking Trump out of both of the federal cases that he had pending.
Well, I think this was the least shocking outcome for all of us, that he wouldn't see the inside of a courtroom one way or the other. So I think this is what we predicted. Perhaps not this, but certainly that he wouldn't see the inside of a courtroom.
Yeah, definitely. I did see that people were predicting these quick prosecutions, but I know that a good defense attorney or a halfway competent defense attorney can really control the time. And as you saw, they filed motions and they, were in control of the clock, and they did the right thing by their client, legally speaking, representing their client to the best of their ability, slowing down the case and letting the election happen.
Just as a matter of interest, and you don't have to answer this, but it's just fascinating to me. If I were in America and I got into trouble, some legal issue, or I was accused of something illegal, and I said, I know Joseph Tully, I could ask him to work for me. What sort of ballpark number are we looking at to get me off?
So I couldn't make any promises other than I would work very, very hard to do whatever I could for you. I think that a good lawyer is going to range anywhere between $300 an hour to $1,000 an hour. I think hourly work is better than just a lump sum. If I could get a case done in 5 minutes, I'm happy to do that and refund all the rest of the money. On the other hand, if a case is long and complicated, me personally, I just want to be fairly compensated for my work. I don't think that criminal defense attorneys, as far as I know, from my point of view, are into it for the money. That this is the hardest field of law to work in, the most amount of heartache, the most amount of hours, least amount of compensation. So, I'm an ex-public defender. That's where my heart is. It's just in the pursuit of justice.
Well, Joseph, I'm keeping your card. If ever I'm over in the States, I'm going to be giving you a call. You're going to be the lawyer. In the police station, I'm going to go, can I call my lawyer? Joseph,
I'd be happy to help.
It's lovely to talk to you. It really is a pleasure. Thank you so much. Joseph Tully, founding partner of Tully & Weiss, attorneys and legal author. Right, coming up, I'm going to be telling you more about what we're going to be talking about at midnight.